The following message is for all Playtime Company employees.
Greetings, people of YouTube, and welcome back to RandomNation Studios in a brand new installment of Who's On First. That's right, the very first video in 2024 is going to be a theory video, and I'm super excited because not only is this one going to be particularly special, it's going to be the first and last one y'all get from me for a while now. I just started the capstone project. If you don't know what that means, basically it's like a senior project class I have to get through to get my bachelor's degree, so final stretch, folks. Needless to say, y'all aren't going to hear from me for a while. It'll be radio silence for a good at least 12 to 14 weeks, so wish me luck on that. And without further ado, let's get into the theory. Today we're going back to Playtime Co to investigate the mystery surrounding the character of DogDay. This doggo has been probably the most fascinating aspect of the upcoming chapter, even more so than the chapter's main antagonist, Catnap. At least in my opinion he is. We've seen him quite a few times now in the promotional materials, including the Smiling Critters cartoon, the product recall video where we got a glimpse of him and the others in their plush forms, and most recently in the very first gameplay trailer for Chapter 3. Yes, that emaciated looking thing in the cage is in fact DogDay. I know he looks a bit odd, and honestly at first I thought his condition had something to do with the clear and obvious torture he's been subjected to. However, I asked around the Poppy Playtime Discord, and a few folks told me that according to the devs, the models weren't complete. They didn't have any fur in this trailer, which is why both DogDay and Catnap look a bit off. So while he may look different from his cartoon and plush counterparts, this is indeed our boy DogDay. I will say it's a bit strange that not too long after this portion of the trailer, we see another DogDay chasing us, and he looks pretty floofy here. I mean, comparatively speaking, he looks pretty floofy. I think someone else mentioned that the trailer used parts from the game from before it was completed, so this could just be a matter of the same character seen at different stages of development. Anyway, janky appearances aside, this guy has quickly risen to become my all-time favorite character out of the bunch. At the very least, he's easily tied for my favorite alongside the lovable Catbee. However, unlike Catbee, who I love for largely aesthetic reasons, DogDay earned his place by being genuinely one of the most fascinating and mysterious characters of the franchise since we first met Poppy Playtime herself at the end of Chapter 1. And I do mean mysterious because while we know quite a bit about the character DogDay, as in the IP that Playtime Co created, we know next to nothing about the bigger bodies DogDay. I've heard quite a bit of things and theories and ideas being thrown around, but we really know next to nothing about this character. Or do we? Well, what if I told you that there's just enough clues for us to make a reasonable guess as to what DogDay's role in Chapter 3 is going to be? Well, that is precisely what I endeavor to do here, so strap in, folks, because we're about to enter Theoryland as I explain what I believe we might see from DogDay in Poppy Playtime Chapter 3, Deep Sleep. Now, before I get into the actual theory, there's a couple of things I want to touch on. First and foremost is the fact that there's just a lot, and I mean just a butt ton of religious symbolism in this game, or at the very least definitely in Chapter 3. In my quest for potential lore, I went digging around the internet, and one of the things I dug up was this. It's the letter, or rather the note, that we find in Elliot Ludwig's office back in Chapter 2. And the part that stood out to me was this portion that reads, "The poppy flower has for a long time carried heavy symbolism, and I don't believe that's for no reason." Heavy symbolism, eh? That got me wondering about the potential symbolism and mythologies behind the various kinds of plants, or more specifically, flowers featured in the franchise. Specifically, I was curious to look into DogDay's flower. his scent is said to be that of vanilla. Another thing I was able to find in my lore quest was a post featuring all the Smiling Critters character cards over on Twitter, or X if you want to really go there, posted by user Smackinpie. This is DogDay's character card, and it reads, "This is DogDay, the sunny, strong, and determined leader of our critters. Each trusts him to find the bright side in any situation and to have a friendly word of encouragement should they feel down. He'll always keep his friends going no matter what." So DogDay supposedly is like the leader of the Smiling Critters friend group. This seems somewhat odd when you consider the bigger body's DogDay is an outcast now. However, given the extremely heavy religious and cultist themes of the chapter, I think there could be an explanation, and it all goes back to DogDay's signature scent, vanilla. This might seem like I'm going off on a bit of a side tangent, but hear me out because while I myself am far from equipped to look into all this myself, I'm hoping that by putting it out there, someone else might be able to pick it up and run with it. Apparently there's quite a bit of mythology and history surrounding vanilla, related to the Spanish, the Aztecs, and the Totonacs. I'm sure I butchered that. Anyway, again, there's way too much to go over here, so what I'm going to do is just touch on a few things that I found in my research that I think is food for thought, and hopefully one of my fellow theorists out there will be able to do something with this information. So apparently the Aztecs acquired vanilla from the Totonacs upon their conquest in the 15th century, and then the Spanish got it after they conquered the Aztecs around 1519 to 1521. Now, it's my understanding that the Spanish conquistadors tended to treat the indigenous peoples they encountered pretty terribly. They would either force them to convert to Christianity upon threat of execution, or would just outright kill them, oftentimes quite brutally. I do believe burning at the stake was one of their favorite methods. What does any of this matter? Well, one of the most important gods of the Aztec culture was Huitzil, this guy, the solar and war deity of sacrifice. I repeat, the solar and war deity of sacrifice. And what is DogDay's charm? It's a sun, of course. There's also quite a bit of interesting mythology behind the vanilla orchid plant itself, but I'm not going to get into that in this video. I've already spent way too much time on real-world lore, but regarding the Aztecs and the Spaniards, I can't help but wonder if there's a specific reason why DogDay's flower and charm, if somehow that's connected to the whole heretic thing. In the first gameplay trailer for Chapter 3, DogDay says this.
The prototype is his god, and this is what he does to heretics.
He refers to himself as a heretic. A heretic is a person believing in or practicing religious heresy, or holding an opinion at odds with what is generally accepted. Heresy itself refers to a belief or opinion contrary to orthodox religious doctrine, specifically the Christian religion. And now, obviously, you don't have to be born outside of any one group to be a quote-unquote heretic. Plenty could be born by growing up in that culture and developing opinions that certain aspects of the belief system or culture as a whole is wrong or flawed, and I personally think it's most likely that DogDay falls into this category. He was presumably made by Playtime Co, just like all the other experiments, but for some reason he doesn't believe or see the prototype 1006 as his savior. In effect, 1006 is almost like a messiah to the toys that follow him, especially Catnap. But for some reason, DogDay seems to be one of the few toys left alive in the factory that don't follow him or view him as a god, hence why he's labeled a heretic. Whether he used to be a believer or not is unclear, but it's obvious he's no believer now, and it seems the followers of 1006 are determined to make him pay for his heresy. The way he's been shackled up like this kind of gives me Inquisition vibes, or even something akin to a medieval torture dungeon. It's pretty gruesome. but I don't want to dwell on that too much, so we'll put a pin in that for another video potentially. And let's just move on to the actual fun part of this video, the theory. So what are my predictions for Chapter 3? Well, I don't have nearly enough information to discuss the entire plot, duh, but I think there's just enough hints floating around to make a fair theory, or at the very least, a few well-educated hypotheses for what DogDay's role could be in this chapter. Now, going off of the trailer alone, we don't get much. In fact, the trailer by itself tells us nothing, but there are other clues provided by the promotional materials, as well as the ARG, most explicitly the CCTV video feeds. One of these video clips in particular shows one of the other smiling critters, Bobby Bearhug, roaming through the very containment area where we see DogDay being held prisoner. If we take a look at Bobby's character description, it reads, "A kind, caring soul, Bobby Bearhug shows compassion for everyone and for everything. People and places and things, large or small, are all receivers of her love. Each is enriched by this attention and affection, and in turn, so is she." Assuming that these living toys follow their IP descriptions personality-wise at all, I imagine this living version of Bobby might be more on our side than we would think. Over on his channel, fellow YouTuber Treachery reviewed the CCTV clips and stated that Bobby looks a bit like a prison guard patrolling the halls of the containment area, and proposed the idea that she might end up being a kind of obstacle that we will have to evade or risk being caught and or encountering even bigger trouble. Now this theory, it has merit and it could still be proven correct. However, like I said, if there's any merit to these character descriptions, Bobby might not be hostile at all. In fact, I'd like to propose another possibility. This living toy isn't a prison guard, but rather Bobby is a visitor. If you're able to wait long enough to see Bobby appear in this CCTV video feed, you'll see her walk down the hall, turn right, and then just kind of disappear. It's hard to say if she turned a corner or if she walked into one of the cells on the far end of the hall, but given how tiny this toy is, it's not hard to see her either being a sentry of sorts, or she could have even just snuck down here to visit the prisoners, or at least one prisoner in particular, DogDay. Again, if this iteration of Bobby's personality aligns with her character's intended personality at all, regardless of whether she is truly loyal to 1006, it's quite possible she feels bad for DogDay and so visits him in his prison cell whenever she can. If that's the case, we could find a way to truly bring Bobby over to our side. Of course, that's assuming that she's not already on our side. We'll come back to Bobby in just a little bit, but for now, let's switch over to DogDay. The first time we see DogDay in the trailer here, he's tied up inside of this odd prison-like facility within the Playcare. I believe in the Poppy Wiki, it was labeled as the Playhouse. Yeah, very fun. The only other time we see him in person is just a few moments later, crawling through a tube of some sort. And a lot of people think that he's chasing our player. While this might just prove to be the case, there is another way of interpreting this scene. Assuming there isn't more than one DogDay, it stands to reason that we have to liberate him from his imprisonment at some point, otherwise he couldn't be following us at all. However, I don't think that he's chasing us, he's following us. The reason he's moving so fast is probably because the same reason we see the player character moving so quickly. Either his model's been programmed to match our movement speed, much like PJ Pugapillar was in Statues back in Chapter 2, and or he's running away from whatever is coming after us, meaning the player and DogDay. Perhaps this moment takes place soon after we've liberated him, and now we're both attempting to flee an enemy, possibly Catnap himself. However, if DogDay is indeed chasing us in this moment, it's possible he's turned on us for some reason or another. If DogDay does wind up betraying us, it could be for, well, a few potential reasons. Either DogDay turns traitor out of fear of 1006, and he doesn't want to risk going back to his torture chamber, or maybe the prototype has something on him, threatening him or tempting him with something that he can't possibly resist or afford to say no to. This is where Bobby Bearhug might come in. If Catnap in 1006 were to learn of Bobby's treachery, her associating with a heretic, maybe they'd feel it necessary to put her in the torture room. Maybe they'd use Bobby as leverage to twist DogDay's arm into turning on us to free the only real friend he's had since imprisonment. It's a pretty sad prospect, but I don't see why there couldn't be the potential for an ally turning on us to save one of their own, especially if they are genuinely friends. There is one more potential reason DogDay could turn traitor, and I think that I should bring it up simply because it's kind of impossible not to. Hunger. The idea that these living toys need food and sustenance has been a recurring theme throughout the entire series. Yeah, it wasn't explored too heavily in the previous chapters, but Mommy did threaten to eat us alive once, and frankly, I wouldn't have put it past her to do exactly that if she were given half a chance. Seriously, how are any of these toys still alive after 10 years? Regardless, something tells me poor old DogDay hasn't been getting regular meals inside of the Playcare's medieval timeout prison. With that in mind, there's a chance that 1006 won't even have to get involved for DogDay to go feral if he succumbs to his hunger first. Perhaps, just like with Huggy Wuggy in Chapter 1, DogDay will seem somewhat level-headed and friendly at first. Heck, he might even enter a pact with us to try and end the prototype's reign of terror, only for his hunger to turn him into a savage monster. Admittedly, that part about Bobby might just be wishful thinking. However, given just how eerie and dark a direction this chapter seems to be taking, my hopes for DogDay making it out alive aren't very high. And if he does end up turning on us, it won't be because he wants to, but most likely because either hunger drives him to it or because he's given no other options. And it will almost certainly lead to us having no other choice but to dispatch DogDay, just like we had to do with Mommy Longlegs in Chapter 2. To be clear, these are all just hypotheses for scenarios we could see in Chapter 3, but I think there's merit. Like I said, we know next to nothing about this particular iteration of DogDay. The information we have on the events of the chapter as a whole are minimal at best. Regardless of whether or not any of my hypotheses are true, we are going to have to wait to see before anyone can give any I told you so's. So to wrap everything up, because this video is frankly going on way longer than I anticipated, I hear tell that the second gameplay trailer will be dropping on January 31st. And unless I am up to my eyeballs in just all of the homework, you can bet I will at least make an attempt at a rants and reviews video of it once it comes out. Maybe it'll help fill in some of the mysteries behind DogDay and his role in the story. Or maybe Mob Games will continue to torment us with tiny crumbs of nothing. As for the release date of the game itself, I have no idea. My sources on Discord, YouTube, YouTubers talking about Twitter feeds, it's all over the place. Like one day, it's implied that, worst case scenario, very late February to very early March. And now, recently, I saw a video by, I do believe it was Internet Inferno, that mentioned that apparently even March is off the table. So I don't know what Mob Entertainment is doing, but it's starting to grate on me, especially since MatPat is going to be retiring March 9th, and I really wanted to watch him play at least part of this game before his big retirement from the main Theorist channels. For what it's worth, I heard that he was going to be continuing to appear on GT Live for the foreseeable future, but it still hurts for so many reasons. On behalf of myself and everyone else here at RandomNation Studios, we're really gonna miss hearing your voice over on the other channels, Matt. YouTube is just not going to be the same. But that being said, I am still super excited for this game's release. I can't wait to watch all of the Let's Play videos. I just hope I won't be too swamped by capstone homework that day so that I can at least watch one of them the day this thing finally drops. So wish me all the luck in the world with that, because this is likely going to be the last time y'all hear from me for quite a long while, and I'm really gonna miss you. I'm gonna miss just having time to make YouTube videos and work on my art over on DA and Tumblr posts, and just so much I'm going to miss, but it'll all be worth it, because once I finally get my degree, I can get a job, start making money, and start making better content for all my loyal followers. In the meantime, everybody, remember to stay safe, stay awesome, stay random, and never forget that it's all just a theory. A game theory. Peace.